This week on Extracts, 3 seasons, 3 years. Time is the only thing we truly fear.
It's the Season 3 wrap-up episode! Finally!
Welcome to Extracts, a podcast where we introduce each other to our fandoms one episode at a time. I'm your host, Erin Cline, an X-Files spooky bitch.
And I'm your other host, Stella Cheeks, a slut for Star Trek the Original Series. Each podcast, we pick 2 episodes that fit a cinematic theme, watch them together, and then record our feelings. Except for not this episode, because...
Our theme this week is Season 3 wrap-up.
Pew, pew, pew.
And unlike our other podcasts, Bobby starts this one.
Yay!
And I'm a spooky bitch and a slut for Star Trek the Original Series.
One might say you're a spooky slut.
Yes.
Ooh!
Yes. One and several might say I'm a spooky slut, definitely. Well, I'll take the reins here to begin. At NYD Positronic Industries, we, of course, are looking for new ways to quantify episodes. And also, what best for a podcast than visual aids? So I've provided both of our hosts with what I am calling the Baddie Breakdown. It is a quantized list of episodes and the aliens, monsters, villains, problems, various in each that have all been laid out and color-coded. We're going to start by having them look over this list and argue with me as to what they think the true problem is in each of these episodes and where I might have got it wrong. Of course, this will be linked in the episode links. It's just going to be, the end one and not the one they've been given now if there are any changes.
So what's the question? What's the real problem? It looks like humanity. Mankind.
You will notice that there's a lot of green, especially on the X-Files side this season, and those are mankind problems. Now, I did include in there mankind humans with special powers or whatever, but the problem is still human nature and what they do with those powers. Also,
It's a lot of aliens in Star Trek, too. That's literally an equal number.
Right. One could argue going into there that, the real problem with the aliens is mankind's prejudice against them. However, now we're kind of getting in the sticks. One question I had is episode 2 from this, our vampire episode. Are we counting the quote-unquote vampires in the X-Files episode 3 as actual vampires, or are they humans?
I think the real villain is AIDS. That's all I remember from that episode is Mulder yelling, AIDS!
Are you worried about AIDS? Oh my fucking God.
Well, I mean, there is acts of nature on there, so I can switch that to yellow if we want.
Oh my God. Yeah, I agree. I was going to say I would take it. I would leave it they're weird vampires in the same way that the salt vampire is a weird vampire, but whatever. Edward Cullen's a weird vampire. He still counts.
Basically, all of their vampire stuff was just in their brain except for the one kid who burst into flames. So that's the one thing that really throws it off.
Yeah, it feels like at least 1 or 2 of them are actually some kind of supernatural.
Yeah. If you believe so hard, you turn into a vampire. It's like that book we read where she turns herself into a
that's right.
vampire.
She sucks her own blood because she believes that it'll make her. It's sort of the same thing, right? She's like, I believe in this. It's true. It did work. I don't remember anything else about that book, though.
Me neither. It was called NBK. That's all I remember.
Mm-hmm, that's right. Anyway.
And then other questionable ones that I put on here that I had to think about as well. Of course, you see several listings under the problem villain monster for All the World is Hollow and I Have Touched the Sky. That is from our major character Sickness or Death. I did list the main source as polycythemia, which was the disease that Bones had. However, I did list McCoy's sexuality, Natira, and just blatant stupidity as well.
Yeah, I think the villain there is bad writing. them being like this. We've talked about this many times, but one of the hardest things for me to accept in specifically TOS is the wild numbers that they choose. We've been chasing each other through the galaxy for 50,000 years. And I mean, I guess it's space, so their years could be, a day or whatever. It doesn't matter. But this asteroid's been floating in space for 10,000 years and it just happens to still be working and happens to have a cure for a disease that a human has, that even though we've never met human, it doesn't make sense. So that's my villain.
I accept that. That's perfectly fine with me.
And then my other problem here is ghosts, and I have a ghost problem in both shows this past
Who
season.
doesn't have a ghost problem?
For Star Trek, we have Gorgon and the disembodied alien ghost of Jack the Ripper.
Oh yeah,
I don't know if we want to quantize those as aliens, as monsters, as ghosts.
I feel like the Jack the Ripper one is an alien. It is proven that he's an alien, Ethan. He's like an alien entity that feeds on hate or whatever. And as we talked about in the episode 2, I think there's a lot of like supplemental material that like codifies that. So I'm fine with leaving that as an alien in the body of Piglet.
And then there was Gorgon from our Children Are Evil episode.
Also, isn't that kind of the same thing?
Yeah.
Yeah, like it is through supplemental material, and then also what happens in the show, he is just like a alien entity fueled by hate.
Mm-hmm.
They just both happen to have ghost-like attributes.
And then on the X-Files side of things, from the Kalusari, I do have Michael's ghost listed as the main villain there.
Yeah, I think that works because like it's really the devil or fucking whatever, depending on who you talk to at each of the characters. But it seems like the only consistent thing is that it's creepy Michael's ghost.
Yeah, he's a ghost. Like that's the thing. They just call him the devil because they don't acknowledge that it's a ghost.
Yeah, it like they like say that it's the child of this the ghost of this child that was in the womb and that died, but like isn't the whole point that wasn't really a child, that it was it's very unclear. So I feel like that's fine. It's a ghost. Cut it at it's a ghost.
Fantastic. All right. Well, if there are no further arguments, then yes, we can move down to where I've kind of totaled these at the bottom here. Actually, I do have one more question. Sorry. We got into the Black Goo conspiracy and the X-Files overarching problems this season specifically.
Yes.
Whereas we have avoided them in the past for, reasons.
Structurally.
I like
yes.
those episodes because they are so Skinner heavy. So
That's
if
true.
mythology means
It's
I get more
true.
Skinner, then I will deal with mythology.
All right, fair.
Very true. Now, I still have, under all these Black Goo episodes, the issue listed as aliens. However, arguments could be made that this is the United States government and therefore mankind's fault as well. Or the Russian government, just governments
It's
in general.
really just the whole conundrum of the X-Files. Is it aliens or is it the government?
Right, exactly. That's hard. I feel like in this case it's aliens, since it's like the physical alien that's doing it. The goo is like alive. It's a little different than the way that the Syndicate like steers humanity towards extinction by like giving them to aliens. You know what I mean? Like Scully's abduction, I would call the government, because it is the government that's doing it, even though she and Mulder believe it to be aliens. Like, this is actually aliens.
I didn't listen to you because I kept thinking about Walter Skinner as a Venom.
Good Lord.
We said Black Goo, and I literally fully went into my mind palace for like 15 seconds.
Now, break down. You said a Venom. Does Skinner have the Venom symbiote?
Yeah, he's Venom, the symbiote. But I guess he could be any... I don't know. The other ones kind of suck. One is going to be a Lasher. No thanks.
No thanks. Next. All right, well, then we can go down to our totals, which you can see the clear winners are aliens and humans
Yeah, tied.
as being the problem here. So yeah, that's the big takeaway, is that it's always people. People suck.
Yeah.
It's always
for
people.
real.
Do you have a favorite Star Trek episode from this season?
I mean, you're going to hate this answer.
Are you serious?
Time for time!
In the same season where we watched I Mud, you're going to pull out the alternative factor as your favorite episode?
No, that was one of my favorite...
And
it was one of my favorite episodes that we watched together.
Okay.
It's in there as
That's
my favorite.
different.
Yeah, that's in there as my favorite watching experience. So that's hard because, like, as an episode of this season, it was one of my favorite episodes.
That's fair.
So, like, big asterisk on that. I don't think it was the best. That's part of why I like it, is because it's so stupid. It feels awesome. No, I wrote it down earlier. I like the space fop one. The
Trelane.
Yes, Trelane.
Yep.
That was for Treat Yourself,
Yeah.
Treat Harder.
Squire of Gothos. Yeah. That's the one that I can think the most clearly about when I think back on this season. It's like one of the things I remember because I enjoyed it so much. Like, I like the writing of that it's both very of its time, and yet it also like plays on Trelane's like really bizarre ideas about humanity and time. Like the whole thing strings together very well, and also it's a very interesting villain, and like everyone interacts in it in a way that feels true to their character. So that one, for sure. I love I, Mud, obviously, because I love a good space fop, but I feel like you kind of set Mud up for failure by giving me Trelane later, because, like, I already knew Mud. I was excited to see him again, but he was not a new fop, and then new fop showed up, and I was
It's
like...
always that new hot fop,
right?
isn't it?
I really needed
New
the new
fop
hot fop, right?
energy.
Like, I need my fop to go more Liberace, I guess. I don't know.
That's very funny.
Yeah, that's the thing, is that there were a lot of really good episodes that we watched, but a lot of what I remember is what this whole project is about how much I enjoyed watching them with you guys. What's your favorite X-Files episode?
It's harder because, again, we say this every time, but like I have to use everyone, but you get to pick. So
Yes.
a lot of times the X-Files episode is like a good episode.
Sometimes.
I said a lot of times. I mean, the robot one is really good. I love that one. RM9S. I mean, like, Boomers versus Machines was excellent. And it was just so well shot and well executed with the very little dialogue and their character work. And it's just an excellent episode. But I also, like, really loved the Genie episode. Mm-hmm. That one was great. I had fun watching the Alien Goo ones with, like, you guys also because there was, like, lots of Skinner in it. Like, that whole scene where he's like, I'm FBI, blah, blah, blah. And they're like, there's a dude hanging from your balcony. And he's like, is there? That's strange. Anyways,
My balcony?
Yeah. First person shooter is ridiculous and fun. But, like, as an episode that I would watch right now, it would be the robot one. I just think it's like an art house film almost. It's like really beautiful and poignant and well acted, and I don't know, there was something very comforting about, as somebody who, like, you know, we ask about the shipping all the time, and a lot of times I'm like, ain't feeling it, bro. There's something to be said about that, like, comforting old, like, established relationship. Like, I think I said in that episode, oh no, I definitely said it in the rapid aging episode, but like one of my like go-to fic tags is old married spurk, because they're like old, established, and they're just having like a nice dinner or going for a walk and reminiscing, and I'm like, it's just comforting. It's like, so even though that episode is chaotic, there's like just something very nice about it. But there's also a lot of bangers in this one. Like Humbug is great. Still wild that he hates that episode because it's like legitimately very good.
I know, right?
Yeah, there's a lot of good ones. There's a couple here that are like make me very angry still. Like I still think
Let's switch to the other side. What hurt the most in this
which
season
one of
for
you
both
were
of
like,
you?
ugh.
I just cannot let Pusher go. It was so poorly written, and the fact that people think that it is a well executed episode is so infuriating to me.
I wonder if you would like the second part. Because I feel like it's a little further on. It's a character that they wanted to use more of, and so I think that's part of it. Is it's supposed to set it up, and then you only get this second one. I don't know. I think you might like it better because it's a little more buttoned up, and also you kind of know what to expect. Also,
Yeah, I don't know.
and everyone treats it like it's a real thing that he can do. Also, which
Okay,
is
that's probably helpful.
Yeah, that's why I think that you would like it more.
I mean, at least that one has, like, you know, we say all the time that even the bad episodes sometimes have good moments, like finding out that Daddy Can't Be Whammied was amazing. Yeah, so I don't know. Maybe I would feel different, but it was just one of those things where it's like, you know, the too stupid to live. Like, literally, you guys are too stupid to live. That's why they keep dying, because you guys are so bad at this.
I think that's this season's share, and the what's that episode called?
Oh, the Frankenstein one that she hates.
Yeah, I hate that episode.
Yeah, so that's this season for you. That's the winner there.
Where everybody likes it. I'm like, what is wrong with you?
Critically acclaimed, internally shamed.
Yeah, I feel like we have
that.
the opposite thing. Like you're seeing a lot of ones that are handpicked as these are the very good episodes, and so I feel like when you're actually watching them, like from beginning all the way through, these feel a lot more like very good episodes. But when you're watching them in a block of other stuff that's also very good, I think it's interesting to see how you're like, the opposite of the way that I feel about what you say are the bad ones about Star Trek. like it's an interesting juxtaposition of you have this complete capsule of TOS and like you're like, well, these are the bad ones, this one's terrible, everyone hates this, and I'm like, actually this is the best thing I've ever seen in my entire fucking life. But you're getting these like cherry picked ones, and so I can see how you can also like see inside of even the good ones, like the more like tacky points about why you don't like them.
Yeah. I'm just looking and seeing if there's other ones that... No, that's the one that, like, really bothered me. I, like, couldn't let that one go. Especially, I think specifically because people really liked it. Do you have ones that you hate? There's so many bad ones this season for me.
I mean...
Why do you think that is? Do you think you're trying to save some quote-unquote
Yes.
good ones for
Yeah,
season
we've talked
4?
about that a couple
100%.
times.
Yeah.
And unfortunately, a lot of the rougher ones just ended up in season 3. Because I think I made season 1 and, like, a fugue, right? Because I was like, oh, I want to show her this one, and I have to show her this one, and blah, blah, blah. And then season 2, we had constraints because we were trying to put more of the season 1, season 2 X-Files episodes in that one so I could get cleared to watch the rest of those episodes. So then that also kind of decided what Star Trek episodes were going to go in there. And then when I was making 3 and 4, I was like, fuck, there are a lot of rough ones left. I'm going to have to really think about what I leave for 4. So 4 isn't just like a shit house.
And I'm not like, you know, trying to string people on or whatever. Season 4 starts going hard.
Yeah.
Season 4 goes hard.
It's such a good episode. I'm so excited.
But then after that, like the first several episodes, we get to big hitters like the Corbomite maneuver and other things really, really early on in the season.
Yeah. And I think it's interesting too, like thinking about this season is that I didn't space them out in a way that if I had to redo this, I would like, because there was like a lot of really good ones up top, and then the latter half or like kind of middle latter half was just like bad. I feel like I really needed to think a little bit more about what was going where and why. One
of the fun ways the data lined up with me is that you can see the last 3 episodes of the podcast, meaning the last 3 episodes of both shows, were just shitty humans on both sides.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Bad.
Yeah.
Bad. Yeah, I mean, like, I obviously like Conscience of the King, even though, like, Erin didn't have as big of a, that's your pusher, I guess. But, like, going back, like, there was at least 3 episodes in between those until we got to one that was pretty good. Yeah, so it's just, like, when we were recording those, I just felt like, is this podcast fun?
It gets hard. It does get difficult because you have your own internal feel. Like, I believe there were a couple of times in this last season where you were just like, I don't want to talk about this anymore, and I don't want Bobby to talk about it either.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh man, now I'm looking at the season 4 for the X-Files to see what's in here. We should go back through this and see if we still think this is the right order for some of
I
this
was
stuff.
literally just thinking that. Like,
Oh, thank
obviously, we're, spoiler, we're recording season 4, the opener today, but we should maybe move everything else around to make sure that it makes sense.
Yeah. I was looking at the last 2 for X-Files. I don't know about that.
Yeah, I mean, I get what you're saying.
As we're on the precipice of season 4, it is kind of an interesting mindset to be like, oh, we're finishing this.
I've been thinking about that a lot, actually.
And so, like, episode order and especially on the X-Files side, the things that we need to hit.
Yep.
Of course, after all of this, Stella gets released into the wild and can watch as much X-Files whenever Stella
In whatever order I want.
whatever order Stella wants.
The most chaotic way anyone has ever done a total series watch. Just go like, boop, boop, boop.
I mean, that's
over here,
like
over there.
basically what we're doing. Even if I do a series watch through, like, I'm always going to be colored by, like, I know what comes next sometimes, but I don't know what comes next other times.
I mean, yeah, that's the experience of watching it as someone who's only watching the show after it stopped airing. Like,
Yeah.
a lot of people do that where it's like, oh, I saw these ones, a person let me see this, and like, then I'm waiting for it. My thing with that, I saw it on TV when my mom was watching it. I think the only time she's ever watched it in her life. And I remember the ending scene. And so when I did my watch through, I was like, I'm going to get there eventually. And it's the very end of season 3. And so it's like you have this weird relationship with, I know some, like the cancer with Scully. Like, you know it's coming, but knowing it's coming also gives you this different relationship with the time when you like watch it chronologically.
Yeah.
watch it however the fuck you want. But I think as a like watch through at some point, you would enjoy doing that.
Yeah. I mean, as we've established, I'll not be watching season 1 again.
Fair.
I've seen it so many times inexplicably.
But in all of that comes like the question on the X-Files sides of the things that we want to discuss on this show specifically, and now only having one more season to do that. I don't envy that task at all.
Nope,
on
it's
your
that
side.
great. I tried. I have a bunch of stuff in here. I did include a couple episodes that I was like, I fucking hate these, but I'm interested to see if you hate them. For example, we're doing a Civil War episode, and I fucking hate that episode so much. It's so awful. I cannot stand it, and I feel like it's going to be one that you watch. You're like, I actually really enjoyed this.
Why? Are you saying that I love Civil War?
No, it's...
Stell, known
I
as
don't
the
know.
old father of the podcast, loves history, loves wars.
No, it's the...
Oh, that's the Abraham Lincoln one.
Sure enough is.
Well, so that one's not good, but it will be fun to talk about.
Well, yeah, because the one that we're
bad.
the one that we're watching is when Fox Mulder has a past life regression where he's a woman in the Civil War.
What?
See,
I'm excited about
no.
By synopsis alone, yes. By synopsis alone, yes, it does sound interesting. However,
It's
in
not.
practice,
It's awful.
I love a gender swap fic.
No. No, we mean it derogatory, not good.
I don't know.
See, that's what I'm saying. All right. Can't give me shit about the Alternative Factory if you like The Field Where I Died. Fuck you.
we will get there. We will fucking get there. So, speaking of that, and really hitting the highs and lows of each show, how are we feeling about these shows still? And yes, we both like, I'm sure we all on the whole like them, but as far as their canonization in fandom and cultural influence and things like that, do you think those things are earned and deserved, or just happenstance of the time that they were put out and their prominence on these television networks?
I mean, it's 70% the first thing and 30% the second thing, because you have to acknowledge whenever we talk about these things, and I think we do it a fair amount, especially when we talk to Dr. Bethan Jones about their book. One of the things you can never divorce from the X-Files is that it was very popular during the rise of the internet and message boards. And, that was one of the first instances of showrunners heavily interacting with the people who were watching it and like literally making changes based on feelings and things like that. And you can never separate Star Trek from the era that it was like in, because that was, kind of the first wave of color television and like appointment television, and like, we are a broken society. We don't have anything to talk about but our television. And then also how people interacted with that, both men and women, though, like obviously more in the context of the show, like our horny foremothers, like fully launched what we think of as fandom today. Yes, you can argue about like the science fiction like journals in the 30s and Sherlock Holmes and all that stuff. You can fucking argue about fandom all the way back to like Paradise Lost. But what we think of as fandom now and how we interact with fandom was directly born out of Star Trek. And so it's hard to totally divest that. And I also think, as a thesis of this podcast, that's really important to always remember. Mm-hmm. But they're both very good shows that their cultural influences not only show up in, memes and whatever, but like directly affected television. Like when we talked about in the Deadly Years, like the X-Files episode was written inspired by the Star Trek episode.
Right, yeah.
And there's so much, we joke about Supernatural all the time, but like Supernatural is inspired a lot by X-Files.
Not
and, like,
only in content, but also in production
Yeah.
crew and casting. For both of these shows, when you talk about the influence, all of these people were also influential in the TV business.
Yeah.
There are so many of the writers and directors on both of these shows that go on to do a lot of really prominent work elsewhere.
Also, I'm going to say something that's wild and actually probably unfounded in research, but I feel like I could research it and back it up. I don't think Star Wars would be as popular as if it was if Star Trek hadn't come first. People wouldn't have wanted to go to the theater in the same way. I mean, I know a lot of Star Wars fandom and interaction was built out of like the toy companies actually, but I do think Star Trek paved the way, which is why it was easy for Star Trek to take notes from Star Wars and then push into the movies, which is why we got. So like, LOL, we talk about like Trek versus Wars all the time, but they are like inextricably married too.
I mean, again, another unfounded claim, but that's pretty much the first fandom I can think of that had direct conflict with another fandom in such an interactive way. That is, the core of it was always Trekkies versus Star Wars people.
Yeah, smart people. And just kidding. Just kidding. I'm actually just kidding.
No, that's all right.
But yeah, so those are my feelings. I personally, I still really enjoy. Obviously, I'm only going to talk about X-Files because like I love Star Trek. Even when I watch the bad ones, I'm like, some of this is still good. Like the characters of Bones, Spock, and McCoy are like, my comfort characters. They're my guys. But I think the X-Files is an excellent show, and even the bad ones, like it leads to good conversation. It's an interesting time capsule in many ways, seeing how far we've come, how far we've not come, that type of stuff. And also interesting too, specifically X-Files, we get to watch. Star Trek only had those 3 seasons for what we're doing. Theoretically we could do animated series, and we are going to do some of the movies. We're going to do the movies. But like for the purposes of this project, we get 3 years. But for the purposes of X-Files, we get to watch it over like decades, which is very interesting to see longevity of character, longevity of fandom, like how time affects the X-Files, like Mulder in the 90s versus Mulder with the internet. Very different, right?
Mulder with a cell phone.
Yeah, very different.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting too because part of what you get as an X-Files fan, and part of the reason that like I feel comfortable doing this show now, is that we do have 10 and 11. Like I watched this show when there was only the series and the movie in the middle. Like there wasn't the terrible movie that came out later, which felt like a gut punch because people had waited for it for so long, and then to finally get 10 and 11 and feel like we have these decades to look at these characters and this growth and how this fandom has interacted and made it this way over like 20 years. Where with Star Trek, like very heavily influenced by the Star Trek mothers, but it ends and then becomes like something totally different. Yeah. Like the returns of it and the movies are like, yes, we get to see those characters over all this time, but it's not in the same kind of format, and you don't get that like episodic interaction with them in the way that you get in 10 and 11, especially, even though 10 is very short or whatever. But even like you get Skinner back after all that time in season 11 finally.
He's looking what?
He looks fucking great. It's like, you gotta put me in whitey tighty so everyone knows I'm in really good shape, okay? I don't want anyone to think I can't fight, all right? Unallowed. But so I think that both speaks to the yes and of that question of like, I think that they both deserve their places culturally because you can see how over time they've shaped culture, but also the way that people learn to interact with them in new ways is interesting. And even if it wasn't our fandoms, like that is what makes fandom awesome, is that people learn how to do this differently over time.
Yeah. So we both still like the shows, I think.
Yes. I would agree. Yes.
So we all still like these shows. And
do you still like them?
Oh yeah, you're supposed to be part of this time. How do you feel about this?
Because like you were a fan of both of them, but now you're watching us watch them both as established fans and then as like new fans, and then also you have to do all this research.
I like these shows more both after digging into them hardcore.
Yay! Muppet Dance.
Well, I was a huge fan of both of these. TOS wasn't my Trek. It wasn't.
What is your Trek?
It's technically TNG, but it's really Deep Space Nine. Okay. TNG was the show that was like on, a lot in repeats. And it was on around me as a kid, and you have a kid. It's hard to parse growing up whether that was on because it was a thing that they could put on, or whether that was on because I asked for it. Mm-hmm. Okay. But then Deep Space Nine was the show that I was watching a bit while it was coming out, but also specifically on rerun Sunday afternoon with my dad a bunch. And from there I went backwards and forwards with Trek. But now, especially on the technical side of things and on the television making side of things, like Star Trek pushed a lot of fucking boundaries. And we talk some smack about Roddenberry and about, these guys in these smoky rooms just cranking up the TV. But there were some really thoughtful decisions made to make this show a forward-thinking and forward-produced, serious artistic production.
Yeah.
And that hits me really hard than just watching them on my own. And X-Files, it's really easy. The fandom does it all the time to break things down like season by season by season, comparing the seasons with one another and which one's good and which one's bad and the people that leave and the people that stay. That's always part of those conversations. But the production staff that is in so much of the show across seasons and them, much like Star Trek did, realizing that they have a canon now and they need to make this somehow congruent and rein Chris Carter in. Like the people that...
Nigh impossible.
But the people that really got their hands in that, and also just the cast being a family and interacting with one another. No, I like these shows so much more now after this.
Yay! Oh, yay! It's a group project.
Okay, so up notes. We're going to look back at this season again and pick your favorite moment, specifically recording this past season. I'll get mine out of the way.
Yeah, you go first.
I'll get mine out of the way, and it's easy. Just on the audio side, Ryan Reynolds' Young, Dumb, and Full of Cum is this season's, and they released this episode on Valentine's Day, everyone screaming. Like, that was like a full-stop breakdown. We were all dripping and sweating in the studio.
So hot.
Laughing so fucking hard after that. That is, by far and away, mine.
That was the one that most people contacted me about and reached out specifically and were like, what the fuck happened here?
I don't know. There was like a moment. I think it was in the episodes we recorded when the studio was really hot because we were all losing our minds. But it's that one, and I think shortly thereafter is our wild soaking conversation.
Which episode was that? I don't even remember.
I believe it is Wink of an Eye. Because it was looped in with the real fast aliens and how they would have sex.
Yeah. Yeah. This is the Baby Does a Thing episode.
Yes.
We fully, because we were trying to parse the science out, and then it just went off the rails. It got really insane. Also, how many times we said and popped ourselves saying, "Did you know I'm a child of 2 worlds?"
I wrote that down too.
I was like, because I re-listened to all of our episodes before we recorded this, and so did Erin. And as I was listening to this, I was like, I'm having a good time, and I think we're funny, but I can't acknowledge that some people probably were like, I'm done with this show.
Stella's words were, I think I kind of want to be done right now, too.
We were not meant to be binged like that, I would say.
Yeah.
Part of it too, I will say that's a recording thing, is that we stacked those recordings.
Yeah.
We were doing 2 every week for 6 weeks.
Yeah.
That's part of why when you listen, it's like our summaries get longer because we're literally
this is
sweating
the season where our summaries went
just
off
went
the rails.
fucking off the rails.
I love them now. They're
I would
fun.
agree with that.
One of my goals for the next season is to make them at least legibly shorter.
I'm not changing a damn thing.
I'd still keep the insanity and the memes though. As far away as I can pull you from actual factual breakdowns of plot and everything to more your gut reactions and feelings about these episodes. That's what I want. That's what's interesting to me. All of that other information is so available, and I want people to actually be watching these episodes too.
And lots of people who I know who listen to this podcast are watching the shows or have already watched them. So nobody's relying on our summaries, really.
That's true.
It's now just like an
nor should they.
It's just an extended bit. Which I like. Also, I mean, one of my favorite moments, it was just a fun research moment, but then also just Margaret Arment and her tentacles, man.
Oh yeah.
I think about
so many times.
I think about Margaret Arment all the time and how she was bad at her job, but I do respect her.
She was in on the hustle immediately.
Yeah,
I
am, your kink is not my kink, but I respect it. And you are bad at writing women, but also you know what?
Understand a different kind of woman.
Yeah.
Learned.
She said, "What about some hentai?" And I respect
What if we make her dumb and into tentacles?
Yeah, like, you know what? Margaret Arman, foremother of Bimbo Core.
When we talk about cultural seeds that have bled into the modern zeitgeist.
I feel like if I go back and watch all of these Baby Woman episodes with the lens of these are bimbos, I might like them more. Especially specifically Game Masters of Triskelion. She's got like the hair and the like Barbarella outfit. Yeah, she's like a gladiator, like born and bred, but also it's fun if she's a bimbo.
Yes, and like,
Yeah, yes, and
together.
Gaslight, geek, girl boss, gladiator.
Oh my god. Perfect.
Yeah.
Holy fuck. Yeah, the Child of Two Worlds really got me. As I was listening back through them, I was like, man, we hit this so many times.
I definitely have the episode we're going to watch, the first one of season 4, definitely has big Child of Two Worlds vibes. And I was just like, how many times are we going to say it? You challenge yourselves to never say it.
LOL. One of my favorite things that we talked about a bunch but was not actually featured in this season is the Chernobyl shit monster. You brought it up so many times.
I think that's one of your like reference bookends for an X-Files episode now of just like, but at least it's not.
Yeah. How did that get made? Obviously, like, one of our themes next season is how did this get made? And, like, why was the Chernobyl shit monster not that pick?
You'll see. You'll fucking see.
Well, now I want to know.
Oh, you'll know.
that is a wild pull.
Erin, did we get an overt recording moment from you?
The Child of Two Worlds,
okay.
Definitely. Honestly, one of my favorite moments was recording the alternative factor when you were so pissed that I had such a good time. There were 7 fight scenes. It was so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think my favorite moments were just like how excited we were that it got like 100 degrees in here, and so we're also having like heat madness.
Also, your baby was in here a bunch.
The horrible exes one, which we did not acknowledge.
He was on like 3 episodes, and we did not acknowledge him a single time. There's just baby noises in the background, and if nobody like followed us at the time or knew us, just fucking baby noises.
Once we got to Bobby,
Gene hates podcasting.
I was gonna say Gene specifically hated Deep Throat submission logs. He was like, I don't want any of this information.
And as someone who edits listening to myself, I fucking get it.
Yeah, that's a pretty good moment.
Also, I mean, this is not like, I guess this is just an interesting cultural touchstone. Not a favorite or anything, just an observation. It is funny as a time capsule. We talk about, like, product of their time, how at the beginning of this season we're like, you can follow us on Twitter, and then it slowly devolves and like, no, we're definitely still on Twitter, and then we're like, no, we ain't on that no more. And I thought that was very
I was right up top. I was ready from the go. Mine's the only one that didn't change.
Yeah. But yours was private for a while.
It was private for a long time.
Yeah.
And that's why.
But honestly, good for all of us for like actually getting off of that hell site.
Absolutely. Anyway, next question.
Yeah, sorry. I just thought it was interesting to be listening to it all. And
no,
being
I
like,
agree.
We recorded. Yeah, we recorded this over 3 years because of like life stuff, and our board broke and blah blah blah. And so it's just an interesting time capsule this one season, especially because there, like you said, in the middle there was like these episodes where we were like all recorded in like a month, and then like a huge time gap, and it is nice to listen to them and like, this doesn't change. This dynamic doesn't change. And the way that we do the podcast doesn't change really. But the little things that did change, it was just like, you can follow me on PlayStation. Like,
And now, much like we've reviewed these shows, watching them in the present, in the past, when someone randomly finds this podcast 5 years from now, they're going to have no idea unless they look at the release dates that all of this time passed while we're releasing that until you said it right now.
Or I think we put it in like a bumper or something.
Yeah.
Like, podcasting is time consuming. It's fun, but it's time consuming.
Fucking passage of time, dude. I fucking swear. Well, okay, so this is a really interesting question. I don't, kind of in that vein as well. I don't know where this came from or who wrote this or if we even did it last season, but what have you learned about the other people from doing this podcast? is on this sheet.
We did do that in the season 2 wrap up. I remember doing that one specifically. I will answer first.
Great.
One of the things that I have learned from doing this podcast with you guys is that it is really nice to know that we are really good friends, and that even when there were scheduling gaps, like, we all committed to finishing this season, and this project is really important to all of us. And it was really nice this season to be able to lose our minds to heat madness and then be able to come back and be like, actually, we love this and we love working together. And I'm very thankful that we've been able to, like, your fandom is renewed in a different way. Like, we've been able to, like, ignite probably life-changing fandoms with each other. Like, I feel like this project has specifically made me feel very strong about our bonds to each other. So that is a thing that I have learned during this season. Now you may go.
Well, anything I say now is going to sound flippant and dumb.
That's the back and forth.
You listen to our pod. You listen to every episode of our podcast, right?
I do. I have listened to every episode because I don't believe in making things that you would yourself like to watch or consume. And I think that our podcasts are fun and good. So I listen to our podcasts.
Also, I don't remember them the moment I walk out of this room.
Yeah. Yeah, and it's fun,
Well,
like...
sometimes we record something, and for y'all, it'll go away for a month or two before it's released because we record in blocks. So that's not unfounded that you would just lose all of that and then remember what you're saying as you're re-listening again.
Yeah. I don't know. I think, I second everything that you said. That makes sense. It is also, like, not trying to be heavy or whatever. There's, like, a lot of, just thinking about the passage of time, the 3 years that we recorded this, like, so much has changed in our lives. Lots of things are changing in the world. It is a very kind of, there's the meme that goes around that's like, I would really like to stop living through a historical moment or whatever. So there's just, like, a lot happening in the world and also personally with all of us. And so it's nice, much like The X-Files is a comfort show for you or Star Trek's a comfort show for me, this podcast is also, like, a comfort, right? It's a constant, even, when we had the break, but it's a constant and it's a comfort to do it. So it's nice to have that, like, touchstone.
I agree.
That makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Building off of that, one thing that I think I have learned about the both of you doing this.
How smart and beautiful we are.
No, because
No.
I think I've actually like put that over of just like, it's really easy for me to sit in silence in this room because you both are so well read and so well expressed that there's rarely ever a time where I have to, like, nudge you academically. I've said all of that in the past. I've known both of you for a long fucking time. And on paper, the two of you lined up personality-wise, it is straight up Odd Couple.
Dude, I have said that multiple times.
Really?
That you're the dark and spooky one and I'm the sunshine one.
Mm-hmm.
Are you surprised by that right now?
I'm not even that dark and spooky.
Yes, I know that.
I'm so much nicer than I used to be.
Yeah, but I knew you when you were a rage monster.
And that being said, always with those conversations, it's like, well, what's the core? Why are they friends or together?
Yeah.
And, y'all started doing NYD also a long fucking time ago.
Our child that will never die.
You do book clubs and you do trips. And so when you're talking about, like, it's so hard to keep friendships as an adult, it's so hard to stay close through life changes and things like that.
Yeah.
This is your friendship. The two of you can sit down and work on things and talk to one another and relate through analysis and relate through sharing things like movies and books and films and find the connection to one another that's been there the whole time, regardless of the wild fucking life changes that we've all gone through.
For real.
And
See
so
the episodes where there was a baby in this room.
And so, like, maybe adult friendships are just, it's not just surface level liking a thing and sharing that thing with somebody else, but it's talking about it.
And understanding why that person likes it so much, too. That's like, yeah, that's an unspoken thing, I think, with a lot of shared fandoms. It's like, we joke that I'm like a reverse gatekeeper because I'm like, you will like my thing and you'll like it a lot. But part of that is like, you feel like seen, right? Like when you loan somebody a book and you're like, this book's really important to me, and then they return it without reading it. And it's like, I guess we're not friends.
so much
Sorry.
so much of what I now perceive of as like adult communication is bitching about bills and bitching about our jobs.
Yes.
And that is
Or our relationships.
there is some strength in commiseration, definitely. I get that. But I find it so much more interesting and so much more connected when we're talking about things that we're passionate about.
Yeah.
Either in joy or disgust. Because it's also really interesting listening to the things that you both strongly dislike and why you put out those things. So I think I understand through this adult friendships.
Hell yeah.
That's really interesting. I feel like I've actually noticed that too in the past. And I've, been trying to work on that myself, and also like regulating my own like mental health and things like that. Is like, yeah, a lot of like friendships and interactions do tend to skew more like gossipy and stuff, and less like, and yeah, we are ostensibly just talking about a show, but then we're analyzing it like, why is this interesting? What's the history behind this? Oh, did you know about this horrible military experiment, which is a thing you guys tell me all the time? I didn't know.
All the time.
It's either military experiments or space. That's what I got.
Or like, here's this really cool, television historical moment, or, here's a fun fact about an actor that maybe no one's talking about in like 20 years or something. Like, that's really interesting. And it's like, it grounds the shows. It, connects why so many people resonate with them. Yeah, so it's nice to not only just be like, 20 minutes ago or whatever, it was like people were just had nothing to talk about, so they talk about TV. And yeah, it's that, but it's also like, relating to each other and like, why did that make you have a big feel? And also makes you think about your show, the show that you like, your comfort show, in a different way too. Being challenged on certain things like, oh, I've never thought of it that way, or, oh, you're totally right, I never noticed Dave Grohl in the background.
Yes.
But you're engaged in a way that is beyond just parroting, which I think is a lot of what communication ends up being as we age, of just like, yeah, same shit, different day. Da, 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 da. You're miserable, I'm miserable. Yeah, man, have a nice day. Like, friend group chats and shit like that have been rough lately just because everyone is so tired and disconnected. Mm-hmm. And this room is never tired or disconnected.
Yeah. It's the aggressive heat. No, yeah, that makes sense. Wow, hard eyes. Feelings. Have to get flippant about it because we got too serious.
Gotta make a joke because we're emotionally vulnerable. Anyway, next question.
Well, next we'll bounce to jokes, because on here we've been doing a breakdown of dumb outro kicker jokes that I make every season. And I provided the list from this last season, so feel free to go pick your favorite.
Okay.
Honestly, my favorite one is the one from Destructive Powers, because it goes on so long.
Yes.
And I was listening to it and I was like, is this a joke? Did he forget to cut it? Like, because sometimes when I'm editing, I'll like put a sound clip near the end and be like, I'm going to come back to that and move in. I was like, did he fuck up? Like, what? And then at the end, it was just like a quick whop thing. And I was like, nope, that's the one. That's the one that got me. That's the one that got me.
Yep, that one definitely got me too. The doppelganger one, I also wrote that one down.
It's a John Cena one.
It's Kirk saying, get these men aboard fast from the episode right as the...
Yes,
beep,
okay.
beep, beep, beep.
Yes.
Yeah.
Having listened to all of them, that's very close to the top of the season, so I just wrote doppelgangers down and then later was like, I don't know what the fuck that means.
Doppelgangers.
My favorite is the interspersed clip of Haley Joel Osment saying, Walker told me I have AIDS, with Bones saying polycythemia. Just a personal one of mine for the Conan O'Brien reference.
Yeah.
I liked when you dropped that one in the middle of an episode because we referenced it, and it was just then him saying, Walker told me I had AIDS. I was expecting it in the kicker, and then when it came in the middle, I was like, oh, that got me really hard.
That's funny.
Great. Well, the last question we have here before we get to some listener fun is, what are your goals for our final season? And we kind of hit that a little earlier, talking about like thinking about the things we need to hit to sum up, but overarchingly, what are we trying to land on at the end of this? My goal is to just stick the fucking landing.
Yeah.
I'll say that right out.
Yeah.
It's not a low bar. My goal is to finish this project with all of you.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
I'm excited for season 4, but I'm like, so that we can finish, you'll get the whole Star Trek TOS experience. There's some episodes, again, that I really love in that season. I really kind of like, even though I know it's technically maybe a rougher episode for you, I like our final episode. I think that idea is really strong. I'm also kind of excited to so we have our season 4s that are 4 seasons that we're doing the episodes, but then, we have plans to do extra bits that we talk about, but I'm excited to watch the X-Files movie. I'm excited to show you Star Trek 5, but I'm also excited to just watch those movies with you because the movies are really fun. Also, we have some, X-Files episodes that you wanted to watch with me that, we're not going to be able to, fit in the season. So, and then I'll get cleared to watch the rest of it, which is cool, to be able to – I have to, kind of parse how I want to do, that. Do I want to do, a whole season? Or I've seen all of 1 and 2. Do I just want to jump in with 3? I don't know.
While you're doing that, I just want to put this out, and we don't have to put this in the episode, but while you're doing that, anytime you come across something that you're like, I need to fucking talk about this right now, let's hop on a fucking Zoom call and have you kind of unswallow all of that in audio form.
Yeah, we can absolutely do that.
All right, cool. I like that.
Yeah, there's some really fun episodes that are coming up. There's some bad ones, but honestly, the worst of the worst are gone. So we don't have the dregs. There are some that are not great.
Terrible plot, but I'm prepared for that. You've been talking that's the second to last
but
episode.
I don't think Spock's brain is that bad.
Okay.
It's not offensively bad. It's not unwatchable. Miri is bad. Omega Glory is really bad. Honestly, after our conversation, I was thinking about it. I think Omega Glory actually might be my least favorite episode. It's so tied with
Is that
Miri.
colored at all by modern events?
I mean, it's hard because Miri deals so much with underage stuff, which is very, very uncomfortable. But there's just Omega Glory is just so gross. I don't know. So the really, really bad ones are gone. There's just some kind of mid ones.
It's interesting looking at this list too. I wonder if part of, I loved Omega Glory right up until the moment that I did not love Omega Glory. But, part of that conversation with us, too, was talking about in a contemporary lens of, it feels now when you watch that episode like the disease is Americanism.
Yeah.
And, that does help me not to my core hate that episode. But you do have to look at it through, a very specific kind of lens. And I think it really worked that it was the weird diseases episode. I don't know that I would have put that together, but it did cushion that blow once it was no, not this.
America.
It's a threat. That's what it is. It feels like a threat to the rest of the universe.
The disease in that episode is ultimately what is keeping them on the planet and kind of like a bubble, but that doesn't end up being the problem.
Right, yeah. Yeah, exactly. So I totally understand why you feel that way.
Yeah. So I'm excited to do season 4 just so that we can honestly, season 4 will be fun, but I'm excited for kind of the after main podcast stuff too.
Mm-hmm. Yep, I agree. I'm just looking at this list now.
Yeah, we have to move some of this stuff around. I'm fucking serious.
All right, we'll get there. Speaking of moving stuff around, we have some Peg, Mary kills that have been sent in by our listeners. Yeah, I know.
Bobby.
It's a weird thing I'm good at, which is transitions. So we'll start with some of these have names on them and some of these are just here. So I'll just start with up top. We have Chain of Command of Officers, which goes Scotty, Sulu, Chekhov.
Fuck Scotty, marry Sulu, have a beautiful lavender marriage, and kill Chekhov.
Does Chekhov live through this?
No,
I don't think so.
absolutely not.
I don't think so.
100% no. Sorry, not sorry. See, I feel like I would want to marry Scotty, but I have no interest in pegging Sulu. Maybe we're in the room where it's supposed to happen. I'm would you like to just have a conversation maybe? And I'll still pay for your time, but I'm not interested in doing that.
I just feel like Scotty is too focused on his job, his engineering and stuff.
That's an upside. That's not a downside.
Okay, but for I don't know. Yeah, I feel like lavender marriage with Sulu is good for me.
Yeah, I get that. I mean, is that not the same thing where you're separating it out where like the other part is that Sulu is gay and the other part
but
is
we
that
shill-
Scotty's a work addict?
We
So,
share a
yeah.
home, we pay bills together, we have like a platonic good like lavender marriages are valid.
Yeah, totally. I'm not saying they're not. I'm just saying it's a lavender marriage. Only the lavender is a work addiction.
It's Mary Scotty because our whiskey cabinet.
Right? Exactly.
Our whiskey cabinet would be so good.
There's
It's
the swords.
Sulu pegs me just so I can have a piece of gay Hollywood history inside of me. And then
I'm gonna crawl under this table.
sorry, not sorry. Check off.
Right? Triple whammy does not make it.
Next down we have besties. This one's gonna be hard because it's Uhura, Chapel, and Kirk.
This is really hard.
Who the fuck dies?
I know, that's hard.
Because I don't want Chapel to die, but I could see Kirk dying because he kind of has a heroic heart on. So, like, if I could give James T. Kirk that sense of satisfaction out the door, I might.
Oh fuck. Oh man.
And
That's
then
a hard
it's
one.
Uhura pegs me and I marry Chapel. There we go. I've
Yeah.
done it. I've worked through it.
Same. I think my answers are the same.
I think mine are the same too.
Yep.
Chapel would make such a good wife.
Yeah.
And yeah, it's just going to be helpful for me as I age just to have a nurse on hand.
Right? Exactly. Teach me how to care for you. You can care for me. It's mutual.
Next up, we have, this is called Secret Helpers, but I'm going to call it My Three Dads. And it's Skinner, Big Ron, and X from the X-Files.
It's kill Ron, Peg X, Mary Skinner for me.
I don't disagree with that. I was stuck on the peg, but I think you're right. I don't want to peg Ron. No, I don't want to marry Ron either. What a disaster.
Ron's gotta die.
Yeah, sorry.
I think I am, though. I think I'm marryingRon. I think Skinner's
Really?
gonna be, and I think X. No, oh, fuck. No, I can't kill Skinner. But X
can't kill Skinner.
X is so fucking intense.
I know.
And,
That's
like,
why Ron's
oh
gotta
my
die.
God, fuck, you're right.
Why
I'm
Ron's gotta die.
I'm on board.
Sorry, Ron. You're getting the bridge. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Next, we have Associated Women, and these pull
Associated.
from several of the episodes that we did this season, including X's and things like that. It's Phoebe, the listed as lesbian game designer from First Person Shooter, Jen the sassy genie, and Sheila Fontaine, who is a bad person in real life, so we could just kill her.
Also, she's stupid in the
And
thing.
she's-
She's like, she's got too dumb to like live disease, so she's dead for sure.
Honestly, like in that was another episode that I had to kind of teeter-totter on because I did list the problem as the guy with the actual weather powers. She's the actual
She's the
problem in
problem.
the
Well,
episode.
I feel like all three of them are because the dude that loses his leg is the antagonist of that episode too. You're supposed to feel good for Holman
all
and
the
fucking what's her
problem.
name? Like,
Well, yeah, but he only got empowered as a douchebag because the guy with the storm powers felt bad about his accident and made it rain for him when he wanted it to.
yeah.
It's Mary Phoebe, or Peg Jen, or have her peg me, whatever, and then kill Sheila.
You're not marrying the genie?
I am. That's my answer.
Okay.
There's just something about this like game designer who like gaslit herself into making a lesbian character because she's like, no, it's about feminism and it's about like, you know, girls should have it, and it's like, no, dude, this is a bisexual dilemma. This is somebody being like,
Here it is.
I put Liv Tyler pictures in my locker and I was like, she's just a really good actress. She's not, everybody. She's hot, and
So
I
if you
was
remember
bisexual.
in that episode, like the character itself is based off a body scan of a stripper.
Yeah.
And then designed into being this hardcore violent feminist icon. So that fits across the
Yeah,
board.
so I feel like me and Phoebe would have a lot to relate about, a lot to talk about. We could work through a lot of our issues together, and we would just like build like a beautiful life together. And just super nerdy. Like, I'm really nerdy.
And then you get to be fucked by a genie. So like,
Yeah,
that's
and then I
not-
get to be fucked by a genie.
Oh my god, you
Is
would
she
get your
the genie?
3 wishes in bed.
That's the
No,
thing.
I would have no wishes.
Does this mean?
I don't want to die from pegging.
That's true. There's
Does
some
this?
unspoken
Okay.
situation
Does
there.
Jen the genie mean before or after she's freed? I feel like that might change my answer. Because if she's freed, I would probably marry her. Because like, what the fuck is gonna phase her at that point? Like, you could kind of just have whatever relationship you can make
But also,
work.
she could be like pretty cynical too, because she's seen literally the worst of humanity for hundreds of years.
Yeah, but wouldn't it be nice sometimes to be like, vibe check? And she'd be like, bad vibes. Like, I feel like I would appreciate that in a wife. And also, like with Phoebe, I would just wreck her world. So, like, I don't
feel
want to
like
marry her.
We would wreck each other's world and then build it up together.
Oh, no.
And then she would design a video game after it.
No.
Yeah.
No.
I'm actually like really into the idea of marrying Phoebe. The more I think about it, I'm like, yeah. Also, she's hot.
I can't with the baby gaze. It's not for me. Again, I wreck their lives. It's not nice.
We have quantifiable data on this.
For real.
All right. Well, our next one comes from Jolene, of course, and it is Star Trek V Kirk, Chris Pine Kirk, Strange New Worlds Kirk. I already know. Which way
know.
This
I
goes
was
for
like, this
Sal.
is an easy answer.
Yeah, I mean, Strange New World Kirk is gonna die.
Yeah.
I
Of
don't
course.
know what he's like.
Yeah,
I
right.
stopped watching the episode before he came because I emotionally am not in a mental place where I can handle a new Kirk in my life.
Fair enough. Bye.
Yeah, Strange New Worlds makes me heated. Maybe someday I'll chill out and I'll have like a, it's cool if you love it. I'm really happy if you love it. And I'm really happy that new people like Star Trek and all that stuff. I just don't want to watch it.
Fair.
Okay, so
That's
he's
totally
going to
fair.
die. Vampire Kirk is going to die.
He's not actually a vampire. He's just from his previous show. He played a vampire?
I see.
He
Okay.
was one of the main dudes in the Vampire Diaries.
Yeah. Just
Okay.
just wanted to unconfuse.
I'm
Erin for a
just like, I
second
mean,
there.
I guess if he's a vampire. We just read DC versus vampires. And I was just like, yeah, this is a vampire in this. Okay, no big deal.
So
Whatever.
then, yeah, like
I mean, Star Trek V Kirk.
it's specifically Five Kirk. Yeah.
Okay, Star Trek V Kirk is pretty mellow. He goes camping. He fucking like loves his husband, and he refuses to get whammied. I don't know, and then he fights God. It's pretty cool.
Your dream to fight God.
also
I feel like that's
Chris.
someone I could support in a marriage. Yeah.
Yeah. Also, Chris Pinekirk. Like, you really have to tell me, is it 1, 2, or 3? Like, those are different Kirks. Because the original, or Star Trek 2009, like, he is wild, chaotic, like, fighting, fucking, bleeding. Like, he's nuts in that movie. Versus who he is in Star Trek Beyond is very different. Because if it's 1, it's a peg, for sure. If it's 3, it's a Mary. Like, that's different.
And but I think through all 3, I would not want to get in the way of his relationships with Bones.
With Bones, AOS ship Bones and Kirk so much.
So much.
They're
From beat 1, their relationship in those movies
Yeah.
is so spot on perfect.
It's so good.
So I think
and
that'll
they're doing
be
their
good.
whole like Spock's straight or whatever thing, so it's hard to ship them if you're just watching the movies. Obviously, the fic does like great, but
Yes.
like Bones and Kirk.
It's interesting. You just said that it's a good, like, you're immediately clicked into their relationship. I saw that movie before I watched any of this, and I got that. Like, as
Yeah.
a person totally virgin to the properties, like, as soon as that moment happened in the movie, I was like, these dudes rock. Like, I'm super into this. Like, even in that moment, I wasn't like, I want them to fuck or I want them to kiss. It was just like, this, again, dudes rock. Like, it was a really great introduction to both of them that I feel like has been correct throughout everything that I've seen of them, too.
Yeah. Yeah, again, even where the J.J. Abrams-ness of those movies gets in the way, the casting was like super spot on.
so good.
So yeah, for me, it's if it's 1, obviously it's a peg, but if it's 3, I don't know. I guess I could, yeah, but I also don't want to peg like Kirk in his like
50s.
50s. And that's
Yeah.
how you
No.
decide.
That's what I was like, I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know a lot about these differentiations, but I know I do not want to peg old Shatner. Sorry.
Yeah.
I might blind pick Strange New Worlds Kirk because I don't want any.
He's
of that.
pretty.
Okay, I'll
His
take.
butt's
I mean,
not
he played
very
a
big though.
Oh.
Missionary. Not as fun.
Must
I know.
we?
Not as fun,
Must
I know. And then to end this all off, it is from Duncan, the Lone Gunman, which, like, we know they all die.
They should.
We have we done this one before? I feel like
I feel like we've done this
genuinely,
one. Okay.
I don't remember what I said if we've done this before. And 2, I don't know.
It's been a while since we've seen them on the show, so that might have.
I think we've also.
Wait
I
a
think
bit.
we may have done this on like NYD versus X Tracks.
Yeah, that's possible.
Gotcha.
Because we don't peg people that much on X Tracks. We don't peg Mary Kill. That's like a very
Yeah, it's a very
NYD thing.
Yes.
To be honest, I don't remember enough about them individually to answer this question.
Can you do it on site?
No. Well, you guys can answer it.
Yeah, I will answer.
Yeah, sure.
Sorry, Frohickey. That's immediate killed. Sorry.
Agreed.
I feel like he would be
Agreed.
tedious as both a lover and a husband. Sounds awful, honestly. Maybe controversial. I would peg Byers and Mary Langley.
Yeah, there's something off-putting about the suit.
Yeah, that's like the whole
Well,
deal. I
and
mean,
he's
I
the
know
most-
that's the whole
He's
deal,
the
but
most
like,
tight-laced, lovesick puppy of the three of them, and that is definitely the one you peg. That's
that's
not the relationship
again
you want.
much like
Yeah.
Phoebe. I would just ruin his fucking life and
Exactly.
like bye. Sorry.
Yeah, no, that all of those picks make sense to me.
Okay.
Fantastic. So the Exy Awards, best villain / alien.
am I answering for X-Files and you're answering for
I mean,
Star
I have them
Trek?
written down for both, but
We could just do both.
Okay, you go first because I don't remember.
okay. My favorite monster from this season 3 of X-Trex is the weird salt vampires. I liked that they like had such a distinct look. I thought the costuming was really good. I thought the execution of the vampiring, of the salt sucking was great. The like mystery, quote unquote, of it, that it can like change its appearance like a chameleon. Like, I know that was very, very up top of season 3, but as I was like re-listening to these two, I was like, no, I think that's absolutely my favorite one.
What what about for the X-Files?
It's the Chernobyl shit monster. Never pictured, mentioned a billion
Not
times.
from this season.
No, it's for the recording of this season. It's the Chernobyl shit monster.
Sure, I'll allow it.
Okay, favorite villain from Star Trek. I'm going to pick Kodos because, again, I know that you didn't have as big of a reaction, but again, it's so important to fandom and it's so important to me, like the effect of him and everything that I've read, and like he's just like very important to me, and so definitely Kodos. For X-Files, I'm looking. Honestly, you know what episode we haven't talked about that I really enjoyed, and I think that was an interesting villain, even though the villain isn't like a monster or whatever, is the Vietnam War episode, the Sleepless episode.
Yeah.
Yes, one with Tony Todd.
Yeah, I think
Tony
that
Todd,
episode
who
is
just passed as we're
Just
recording.
passed, yeah.
I think that episode is excellent.
Yes, I agree.
Mm-hmm.
He's so good in it. The other ex-military people who are suffering from the sleeplessness are good in it. That like little kid with the mean mugging is excellent in it. Yeah, I think that episode is really good. So and I think it highlights what sometimes the X-Files does well, and other times obviously they fail at it. But of that like ambiguous, we can't nail down a monster bad guy. This bad guy is systemic. This bad guy is society. This bad guy, and how that affects the individual person. That one is great.
That's a really good answer. And it's funny, too, because you brought up earlier about, like, here's this horrifying military thing that, like, you just learn about. And, like, some of this is based in that of, like, giving soldiers speed and meth and just sending them out, like, do fucking whatever.
Yeah.
And, like, the consequences that people feel in the post-trauma, and especially if you can never sleep it off, like, ever. That's a great answer.
Yeah, I really like that one. I mean, there's so many good monsters from this season, though. Like the humbug monster, Lanny, the twins,
Yes.
right? Like she's incredible in that episode. But yeah, I don't know. I think Sleepless. I remember recording that one and I really, really loving it, and you being like, I thought that you would like it, but I didn't think you would like it this much. But I think that episode is. I don't totally remember how well received it is, but I think that's definitely, if I were making a list of like underrated X-Files episodes, I feel like I would put that on that list.
Totally. It's one, every time I see it, I forget how good it is. But it's one that I wouldn't be like, let me put this on my top, even maybe 25. But like it is a very well done episode of the X-Files. I think you're right that it is really underrated.
Also, Hell Money is really good too. With
Money fucking
the
rules.
villain is fucked up in that one.
Yes.
That
I
one's
knew you were
deeply
gonna like
fucked up.
it.
Also, like, you know, I don't love watching body snatching stuff. Like, I don't like that stuff is all very upsetting. So like, it's a good, scary, humans are bad one.
Yes, I would definitely agree with that.
Also, Baby Lucy Liu, who's like my
Yes.
forever crush.
I will go with, for the Star Trek side, Day of the Dove gives us Kang.
Oh yeah,
Kang the
Kang
Klingon
and Kodos.
Kang and
this
Kodos.
season.
Just like the heavy hitters of the early Klingons and the ones that come back to the show later. So that's very, very important.
That would be fun to do. I think we talked about doing it as like an extra episode of showing you the Deep Space Nine episode where all three of them are there.
Yeah.
That would be fun.
Yeah.
And then for X-Files, I'll just go with Judy and Chucky Poundstone from Plus One. Two horrible people played wonderfully by the same actor.
Yeah.
That was, it's fun to see and experience and watch. That twist really makes the episode for me.
Totally.
Okay, I do have like a secondary answer, like a more actually to this season. Another episode that we never talked about, but people don't really think about was John Doe, the one where Doggett is lost in Mexico. Like that again isn't there. There is a weird vampire villain who's like really the what's his fuck Caballero, like, but really it's about the mystery.
Vampire, yeah.
Yeah, it's more about the mystery of how the fuck did you get here? Why doesn't the FBI know that you're here? Skinner showing up with like the military at the end.
Skinner being like, you can't whammy me.
Yeah, right? Again, he's
Get
like, I will
wrecked.
always show up.
It's Doggett versus his past traumas
Yes.
as well, which really humanizes the character. Doggett, very, very forward, straight-laced, gruff, and he's just a dad who misses his son and is looking for his son. And that draws the parallel between Mulder in a really direct way in that episode that makes me sad that we never got to see more of Doggett.
I know. He gets a bad rap, for real.
Yeah, X-Files fans are bad.
Not going to disagree on that.
Next up is our most sexually tense moment of the season.
Do you have answers ready for that?
Kirk and Spock in the elevator,
Same. That's what I wrote down too.
obviously.
Great.
I don't know, like me and Skinner. Just kidding. This thing
That doesn't have to be a
You're
joke.
the
there
worst.
was literally an episode where like I remember watching it and then when we were recording it, I like fully shorted out for a second where I was like, oh my god. We did watch the episode where they literally fuck.
That's true. We did.
We watched the episode where they sleep in the same bed and it's like heavily implied that they fucked. So I guess probably that.
That's fair.
Them actually fucking.
Absolutely fair.
I guess it's not sexually tense
Yeah,
though.
that's
It's sexually untense.
Untense. We're finally untensed. I wrote down for that one that my favorite sexually tense moment is Mulder sitting on the hill, like moodily fingering Scully's cross in the vampire one. Where he's just like sitting on a hill, billowy shirt open. There's a house burning in the background. One National Guardsman comes up and is like, everything's gone. He's just like, I'm too busy.
The really good firefighter.
Yeah. That was mine. That I feel like very sexually tense, not them, and then they have sexing.
I don't know. Mulder looking at Skinner while he's like torturing Krychek. Pretty good.
That's a good one.
That's actually going to be mine.
Woo, daddy.
Yeah, because, popular ships with Krychek are also the two of those in the room as well. So it's an interconnected web of everything working for everyone.
Yeah.
Yes.
Also, yeah, thinking about fandom and history and stuff, like this was the season where I was like, it's not for me, but I get Krychek Mulder.
Same. I staunch. I refuse to even acknowledge this ship. Like, I get it now. I kind of understand why people are into it. I'm not, because I don't like that kind of twink. I'm just not into it. But like,
Evil twink.
I get it. Yeah. Yes. Evil twink, not for me.
Great. So then we'll move to the next question, which is oddest character missteps.
I mean, for Trek, it's got to be Kirk jerking off on the American flag for me. It's just so weird. It doesn't make sense.
That is a universal misstep, not just for
Yeah.
Kirk the character,
And it
but
just
for
doesn't-
Starfleet.
Yeah, it doesn't make sense in the world building. And honestly, like having researched it and knowing like Gene Roddenberry's like weird hang-up spot, and everybody was like, this is bad. Stop. And like truly knowing that now, that should have gone in How to Do This Get Made type deal. But like, yeah, so that one for sure. And honestly, like I know I already harped on it, but like Pusher is full of people making dumb choices that don't make sense. Like it doesn't make sense. Why would you not trace the call with it down? Why would you not wear fucking like headphones around a person who can control you with your mind? Why would you let a guy pour gasoline all over himself?
Well, I feel too like part of it inside of that episode and part of the X-Files universe is that they truly cannot understand that someone can do supernatural things.
Yeah.
And so like, I don't know, man, if you met a cop today and we're like, that dude can do mind control,
Okay.
why is this guy pouring gas on himself? Like that does make a little more sense to me.
I will accept that for the cops. I will accept that for whatever. I will not accept it for Mulder.
See, I think that Mulder running into that building like, only I cannot be whammied, and then immediately falling into Russian roulette feels so Mulder to me.
That moment, but everything else before that doesn't make sense to me.
I mean, I kind of understand. Mulder's in like profiler mode too. I feel like that's part of it, is they're really trying to emphasize that, and he's not good at it.
Oh, also Scully not knowing how quarantines work. Scully opening a clear bag that has a corpse
and killing
in it.
a sweet
Yeah.
doctor
And
who works for
manslaughtering
Big
a man.
Pharma. Yeah.
Yes.
And killing a man. Yes.
Those two are rough because it's like, what are you guys doing?
That makes sense. I get that. I think one of the weirdest Mulder missteps is in Leonard Betts when he doesn't fucking stick his hand in the iodine. Like, that's not...
Yeah.
That was weird. Like, there's a bath full of iodine and fucking Fox Mulder is not gonna, I don't know, stick the toilet brush in there at least.
Yeah.
Like, it was so bizarre that he was just like, well, that's totally normal. And then just like walked away from it.
Yeah, that's true. That's absolutely true.
One of my biggest is one Stella already mentioned, which is Scully and Emasculata. Like, you're a doctor. Come on now. But
you don't even have to be a quarantine specialist.
you don't even have to be a doctor to understand.
You don't have to even be a doctor.
Thing in bag icky. Don't open bag.
Clear bag. Clear bag. All of the things she wanted to see, she could still see. If it was not a clear bag, I would not be harping on it as much. It is insane.
But kind of along the same vein of Stella's pick, except a different episode, is I listed Fox Mulder as one of the villains in Paper Hearts.
Agreed. Totally
Yeah.
agreed. I don't think that it's a misstep, but it's not out of character for him.
But for me, it is. He is a profiler, and he put John Lee Roche away. He knows what Roche is capable of. He knows what Roche will do. And then on a whim, he takes him out and almost gets a fucking child killed. It seems to me, honestly, watching it again this time, I'm like, oh, there shouldn't have been a show after this.
Yeah, character misstep
Mulder
in Skinner
shouldn't-
not firing him.
There we go. There it is. Mulder still having a job is unquestionably wrong at the end of that episode.
I mean, I do kind of get it. Again, Mulder's so insane that it
Yes,
doesn't...
it is his sister. And
Yeah, I was going to say that...
Character-wise, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. And this, again, Vince Gilligan said, we are trying to address that specifically. And I think by that time in the series, we've kind of lost sight and forgotten about how fucking crazy he was about his sister. And when you watch it,
so they were hitting it hard for
yeah,
that
when
reason.
you watch it in order, and we joke about it all the time. Where's my sister? He steals a clone from the government. I think he rushes into a military base. That seems on step for me.
To me, there's a difference between it being smoking man, government agents, Man in Black, to a fucking child predator that he put in prison in the first place.
Yeah, I get it. I understand. I feel like at this point, sorry, just another point. I feel like at this point, maybe also I'm just so used to characters that he put away coming back, Pusher escaping, and then I don't even know. I think we are gonna get to the one where the guy gets younger and keeps calling him on the phone.
Mm-hmm.
That was one that got away. I think, again, I've mentioned this in a couple of summaries, Mulder is bad at his job, fundamentally. And so even that stuff, I think at that point, Skinner is so fucking numb to it and is truly trying to be on their side. Can you please give me literally any fucking evidence? What are you doing? And
because he doesn't, again, in that episode, he doesn't blame Mulder. He blames Scully because he told Scully to fucking watch
Right,
him.
exactly. That's Skinner knew this was going to happen. Skinner was this motherfucker. I'm 4 steps behind him because this idiot is going to do this dumb bullshit. And it's also implied that Roche does have some kind of control over him too, which is fueling that. But I understand what you're saying.
Yeah. We will then move on to hottest lingering questions for season 4. And there was a question that I'd written earlier that I kind of deleted in lieu of this one, but I'll add it kind of here, which is just, what still doesn't make sense to you, if anything, in these universes?
Girl, we better get to fucking Abraham Lincoln immediately.
Oh,
I'm
yeah, you've
so
heard about Space
goddamn
Lincoln.
tired.
When we reorganize, we can put it up.
I've seen just the clip of him standing next to them and I need to understand what's happening.
I need to know. I don't know if I totally do have any lingering questions because even with the mythology stuff, you guys have explained a lot or not. You know what? I guess are we going to see Diana Fowley at all?
Oh, I don't think so. Probably not, because she's so
I want to do a whole
heavily-
separate podcast about Diana Fowley.
I'm down. Let's fucking do it. That could be part of our addendum. Like, she's not in that many episodes, truly. And also, it does give you, like, a very different idea of Mulder and his character.
Yeah.
Like, that is an out-of-step thing where it's like, what the fuck happened here? It's like Scully's professors that she fucks, and it's like, why? Why would you do that? Like, she feels like that for Mulder. We should go through the Diana episodes.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about it with Dr. Beth and Jones, but like I know so much about Diana Fowley from a fandom perspective that it is weird that I don't know about her at all.
It's because I hate her.
Yeah, I know, but like I think I might
right.
because I have this pre-existing knowledge of her, I am like curious to see how I will react to her.
Yeah, I'm interested in now. And again, you've seen so much of it out of order. You've seen them as like
Yeah.
a 50-year-old couple who's established. So like you're not also having the original series of I hate this bitch. Like
Yeah.
why is she interfering in this OTP we are all fucking pointed at? Like
Right.
that's part of it. And now I'm so interested out of order when you know so much about Mulder, how you would react to that.
Yeah.
That's really I don't think we have any Fowley episodes. We should do that. Let's do an
In
ag on
defense of
that.
Dana Fowley, or what's her name? Diana.
Diana.
in defense of Diana Fowley.
Yeah, you can slowly change my mind about it. Sort of like you
I
said
might
about-
hate her though. We don't know. I
That's
just
true.
have like so much of this knowledge about her.
I don't think you'll hate her.
I don't think you'll
Yeah.
hate her either.
Because you're coming into this aspect of a modern fan, and you've seen so many times the X-Files fandom be wrong just for their pure passion
Yeah.
for Mulder and Scully's relationship in the moment of this show, Erin.
Yeah, like totally. I feel like because they're not your like main ship on this, it might be more interesting for you too.
My main ship is me and Walter Skinner.
Self-insert ships, people do them,
Yeah.
whatever.
I thought
You
that
do
meant
you.
something different.
Nope.
Bobby.
And then we'll move on to our last award, which is the Dwayne Barry Award. The Dwayne Barry Award goes to a batshit insane character who's deeply impactful, slightly endearing, and only there for an episode. I know we already picked our favorites, but this seems like something.
know.
Yeah, it's a
I know.
different question.
Yes.
It's for sure a different question. I would maybe say Roche, except for the fact that like I feel like Dwayne Barry sort of has a positive connotation because he is like endearing, right?
Yes.
And like Roche is just yes, exactly.
Maybe the genie.
That's a good answer.
You could go with the genie from Jesu 8, definitely.
Yeah, I could see that. I would maybe say Leonard Betts because like
Yeah, I was thinking about that, but I also kind of don't remember him. I guess he was nice until he murdered his friend.
and even then he was like, I'm so sorry. I'm
Yeah.
so sorry I have to murder you. Asses to alligators.
Yeah, asses alligators. What about for Trek?
Okay, my joke answer is the Mugatu because there's so much lore about it
Yeah.
for no fucking reason whatsoever. And like I knew it as a cultural visual, and so to get to it and be like, truly, why is there so much about this?
Yeah.
That was a point for me for sure. But I think my real answer is the Trelane, the space
Yeah,
fop. Like,
that makes the most sense.
yeah, he's very in line with the Dwayne Barry. Also, he just shows up. He's everybody's fucking problem.
He's
Like,
kind of fun, but he's
Yeah.
also bad.
yeah, exactly. He is still a villain.
I'll pick Tongo Rad, the futuristic space hippie from This Way to Eden.
Oh yeah.
That's a good one. That's a good one. The villain of this episode, space hippies. Whatever.
Okay, and then the last thing that we need to do to set ourselves up for next season is to discuss changes to our episode ending fan questionnaire. I believe we've moved on. We started
We're
as
calling it a
newbie
super
fans
fan.
to
Super
established
fan.
fans, and now we've already discussed that we're going to call ourselves super fans.
Super fans.
Yeah.
So, upgrading our super fan questions. As a super fan, would you put this episode on your must-watch list? that I feel like we both know enough that we can say, like, this is something I would recommend to you for XY reasons. Like, I might recommend Alternative Factor, but tell people it's because it is ridiculous. Like, I feel like our watch lists would look very different.
Emphatic silent nodding from Stella Cheeks.
No, it wasn't nodding.
It was bashing your face against the microphone. Yeah, I got it. I understood it. Yes, I got it.
She got the body language.
But yes, so that'll be one of them. Well, you know what? Actually, I think a good example of that for you is the Sleepless one, the Vietnam one, but also like Beyond the Sea. Like, it's an important episode, and a lot of people would put it on that, but like you really connected heavily with that episode. Yeah. So I feel like that fits into like a wider question about what your super fandom looks like also.
Mm-hmm. The next one we're going to do is, instead of what's the most X-Files moment, what's the most Star Trek moment, we're doing, is there a series defining moment in this episode? I also think we can elaborate a little bit of, is there like a fandom defining moment too?
Yeah, because like obviously the one that with the planet Kodos? Yeah, that's what I'm thinking. Yes, it means so little to me I can barely remember the fucking name.
You have to read the William Shatner novel. I'll give it to you. Please read it.
Okay. All right. Fine.
It's not good, but it's good. It's heavily ghostwritten.
I've read worse books. Let's get real. I've read worse books for our book club. We don't just get to that. Okay. And then what was our question before? Who are you shipping?
Yeah.
Who is your OTP from this? Would you change your OTP?
It's basically the same question. We just were trying to make it super fanny.
Well, I feel like too, like your OTP is...
But your OTP technically never changes.
Well, that's what I mean is like, would you watch this episode and does it like affirm your OTP?
Okay.
Or are there...
Does it
like...
affirm your OTP is better than who are your OTP, because your OTP
they don't
literally
change.
Never changes. It's the one true pairing.
Right. And so I feel like is this a good representation of your OTP, or is it like, do you understand why other people would be like, nah, that's not, I don't vibe with that.
Yeah. And then of course we're keeping, is this a fuck, fine, or flop? Because that's what we're keeping.
What other scale is there? Only fuck, fine, flop.
Though Erin wants to add a plus and minus to everything.
Not everything.
Almost everything.
Almost everything. My opinion is nuanced, okay?
Okay, sure, whatever. This is in the same vein of I can't put a sticker on something to me.
Yeah, it's just a fundamental difference in our personalities.
Okay, that's it. I think that's a wrap up.
I feel like we've done it.
Do you feel wrapped?
I feel wrapped.
You're right. I do feel wrapped.
Good. I'm glad. It's time to leave, baby.
Yeah. Time to leave. All right. You can find us on the internet. You can follow us at NYD Productions on Instagram and interact with the show using the hashtag XTrexPod. You can find me at NYD Urgency on Instagram.
You can find me on Blue Sky, Tumblr, and Instagram at Stella Cheeks.
You can find me on SoundCloud at Fister Roboto.
Can you really?
Yeah.
Oh, cool.
You can also subscribe to our new monthly newsletter at nydproductions.substack.com for updates on things like what we've been listening to, playing, reading, or screaming at the sky.
You can also email us at xtrexpod@gmail.com with thoughts and hopes for season 4, which we definitely already started recording, but who cares? Time is meaningless.
Yay!
And if you want more special behind-the-scenes action like our script notes, outtakes, extra podcasts like unofficial channels, and access to our Discord, then check out our Patreon at patreon.com/NYDProductions, where you can get all of that and more for only $1.
And don't forget to subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts and to tell your friends. We find that this nerdy shit is better when it's shared.
We'll see you soon for our final season starting January 3rd, 2025. In the meantime,
believe boldly.
Seek truth.
Ship proudly.
X-Trex is created and written by Stella Cheeks, Erin Cline, and Bobby Hoffman, and produced by Bobby Hoffman for NYD Productions. Our show theme is Alien Spy by Ionix, and our show art was made by Jonathan Curtis.